Today, I'd like to talk about why we suffer. And not just from a reasoning point of view, but almost why we choose to have those reasons. I believe that we suffer because we're different. Everybody's different from the person next to him or her. And when we notice the difference, it creates dissonance, place for arguments to happen. Arguments lead to sorrows. Sorrows lead to battles, and then so forth. But more abstract, I like to talk about how we kind of sometimes long for suffering. Sometimes I notice in myself that I have a sense of sentimental belonging. When I'm suffering. Like, oh, this is so beautiful. I'm feeling so much. And not from like harmful tendencies or willingness to make myself suffer, but that like having emotions that are so deep is very beautiful. Maybe it comes from my Japanese upbringing. Like we talk about hakanasa. It's one of the words that my friend brought up back when I used to live in the town, like 2 towns next to the one that I'm currently living in within the greater Los Angeles area. And he brought up this word. He was like, it's so beautiful as a word, as a concept. It's so Japanese. And when he brought it up, I kind of, for the first time, really looked at that word from a more American point of view. Because it was right after I had come back from Japan to live in the United States again. But he brought up that word. He said he looked it up in the dictionary or like saw it somewhere in a vocabulary list maybe. But he said that the word is very beautiful. And when we say, in Japanese, when we say hakanai, it means like, it has a sense of, or notion of, it's not going to last. It's something that's fleeing. It's something that might be what we want to hold on to, but it will, in the end, leave us. Almost like leave us hanging, but hanging in a sentiment where the memories, the pain of losing what brought us the memories, and the future all kind of coincide and reside in one place as this melancholic beauty. Like the emotions are what makes us be able to feel beauty in our lives, but at the same time, for the emotions to happen, we have to go through the fluctuations that allow emotions to be emotions in us. So, when I think of it that way, what is suffering? And I just brought up fluctuations. It's definitely fluctuations because without change, we'll mostly be in maintenance mode and we won't feel too much, or we'll slowly decrease in 1 or 2 or more of the functions that we have, either emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually. And then we wouldn't feel as much. So that wouldn't be a sense of pain or suffering. Suffering is when we've been trying so hard to be a certain way and something breaks us, or we're trying to get somewhere so hard and it breaks us, or we're trying to stop being a certain way and it doesn't stop. Usually these are many of the main reasons why we feel a sense of deep pain that turns into suffering, strong enough to be called suffering. It's not just a puncture in your arm that somebody mistakenly holding a mechanical pencil slid while he was walking and then just maybe like poked you and you're like, ow, that's painful. It's like suffering is when that type of momentary pain. I'm not saying that somebody's going to keep on poking you, but well, maybe emotionally. If a person keeps poking you emotionally and you're saying to yourself, why is this happening? Why is this happening to me? Why does this person do this to me? And it keeps on happening. It turns into a turmoil, which ends up bringing you suffering. Because turmoil, the definition of turmoil is not necessarily equal to suffering. It's more like the challenges mixed with the pain that ends up in suffering. But I wanted to talk more about why suffering happens. Not the workings of how it happens, but why it happens. And I feel like a lot of times as humans, we are seeking suffering due to the reasons I mentioned earlier. That for me, there's this some tricky feeling in myself. Whenever I feel more suffering, I feel like I'm more validated as a human because I'm feeling emotions. Now that brings me to think I'm not validating my happiness or cheerfulness as much. And it's actually true. I don't validate my happiness as much as I would like to. There's a part of me that feels like as emotions, happiness is lower than my pain. Like pain makes me able to understand happiness, but there's no way happiness makes my pain worth it. That somehow the beauty of the depth of pain is what allows happiness, but happiness is not the mother of pain. Like, who is wiser? Pain. That's how I feel. And it's actually wrong. That's what I want to tell myself and propose to others today. Why does it have to be that pain is the wiser brother of emotions compared to happiness? Could it be in any way that it's just that we're not validating ourselves as deserving of happiness? That could be the main reason, the core reason why we invalidate our happiness. And we only accept it after long phases of pain. And then when happiness happens, we're like, okay, that was worth it. We deserve that. But if happiness goes on too long, it's like we start trying to find reasons to bring on pain so that we understand happiness. And I'm starting to wonder, does it have to be this way? Can it just be accept happiness? That's part of the training of our hearts too. Not just train yourselves to be wise when you're in utter pain, but like knowing that happiness is something that we could seek, that we are deserving of seeking, and training our mentality to believe in that and know why that could be true is part of true training of our hearts as well. So I just wanted to brainstorm on that because I feel like a lot of times people just feel like pain is the parent of understanding everything. But I don't think it is. Sometimes you can have the most joyous, beautiful moments and have that lead to an epiphany that makes you so much wiser. Now, can you take that away and say, well, I wasn't in utter pain, so it must not be validated. It must not be worthy of being validated. That's not true. I don't think that's true. I think that's just part of you believing that you shouldn't be loving yourself, that pain is a must. And I don't know if it's a must. It's just something that happens due to circumstances, due to consequences, due to environment, conditions and settings and scenarios. But can we say at all times, if we're not feeling pain, then our happiness is also not meaningful? Why do we feel that way? I mean, is it the truth, or it's just how we're kind of abusive toward ourselves? Possibly. Today is September 4th, 2021, Saturday. It's about 10:30 a.m. in Greater Los Angeles, Pacific time. And I hope you guys have a great weekend today and tomorrow, Sunday. Bye-bye.